Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, could you get it so it's not in front of us? Yeah, perfect, thank you. That's good, thank you. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 49. Before we start on the Srimad Bhagavatam, I'd just like to thank all the devotees here for kindly receiving me. You know, this is my first time ever in Mumbai. Been to India before, but never made it out this far. You know, and I had heard, the Juhu temple, it's really nice. They were lying. It's not really nice, it's magnificent. This is a tribute to Prabhupada's vision, our visionary founder Acharya, that he pushed so hard for this temple when everyone else is saying, well, why go through so much trouble? And we have to acknowledge not only Prabhupada, but all the devotees from those days who worked so hard to put this together. And up to this day, I mean, maintaining this place is such an endeavor. I can't imagine all that goes into this with the management and all the devotees receiving so many pilgrims and worshiping the deities so nicely. So, Hare Krishna, all glories to your service. I'm going to follow in Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj's footsteps and offer a acknowledgement to my dear godbrother Chokram Maharaj. When I moved to Orlando, Florida around 20 years ago, I was not in a very good place spiritually, to say the least. I wasn't chanting my rounds, I wasn't following the principles. And Chokram, who was the president of the Orlando temple, I started going once a week to attend his classes with Kirtan and Bhagavad-gita. And after years, my stone heart started to melt, and I again was able to take up service to Prabhupada in a more appropriate way. So Hare Krishna. Let's see, we're reading from Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 49. We have the verse there. Dehendriya Prana Mano Dihang Yo Janmapyaya Kshud Bhaya Tarsha Krichtrai Sangsara Dharmayar Avimuyamana Smritya Hare Bhagavata Padhana Detendriya Prana Manodhiyang Yo Janmapyayak Shud Bhayatar Shakrichtrai Sangsara Dharmayar Avimudhyamana Smritya Hare Bhagavata Pradhanaha Dehendriya Prana Manodhiyang Yo Janmapyakshudbhaya Tarsha Krichtrai Sangsara Dharmar Avimuhyamana Smritya Hare Bhagavata Pradhanaha Dehendriya Prana Manodhiyang Yo Janmapyayak Shudbhayatar Shakrichtrai Samsara dharma vimuyamana Sritar Bhagavata pradhana Dehenjaya prana manodhyangyo Janmabhyakshudpayatarsha Samsara dharma hivamuyamana Smitya Hare Bhagavata pradhana Dehenjaya prana manodhyangyo Janmapyayak shudbayak tarshakritchtrai Sangsara dharmir avimuyamana Smritya Hare Bhagavata pradhana. Ladies. Dehenjaya prana manodhyangyo Janmapyayak shudpayatarsha Smritya Hare Bhagavata pradhana Dehendriya prana manodhyangyo Janmapyayak shudpayatarsha Sangsara dharma himuyamana Smritya Hare Bhagavata pradhana. Deha, of the body. Indriya, senses. Prana, life air. Mana, mind. Dhyam, and intelligence. Ya, who. Janma, by birth. Apyaya, diminution. Kshut, hunger. Bhaya, fear. Tarsha, thirst. Krichtrai, and the pain of exertion. Sangsara, of material life. Dharmai, by the inseparable features. Avimuyamana, not bewildered. Smritya, because of remembrance. Hare, of Lord Hari. Bhagavata pradhana, the foremost of devotees. Translation. Within the material world, one's material body is always subject to birth and decay. Similarly, the life air, prana, is harassed by hunger and thirst. The mind is always anxious. The intelligent hankers for that which cannot be obtained. And all the senses are ultimately exhausted by constant struggle in the material nature. A person who is not bewildered by the inevitable miseries of material existence and who remains aloof from them simply by remembering the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be considered Bhagavata Pradhana, the foremost devotee of the Lord. Please repeat. Within the material world, one's material body is always subject to birth and decay. Similarly, the life air, prana, is harassed by hunger and thirst. The mind is always anxious. The intelligence hankers for that which cannot be obtained. And all the senses are ultimately exhausted by constant struggle in the material nature. A person who is not bewildered by the inevitable miseries of material existence and who remains aloof from them simply by remembering the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is to be considered Bhagavata Pradhana, the foremost devotee of the Lord. Omagana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, this is a long purport. Maybe we'll get through it, maybe we won't. But according to Sri Madhvacharya, there are three classes of intelligent living beings in this world, namely the demigods, ordinary human beings, and demons. A living being is endowed with all auspicious qualities. In other words, a highly advanced devotee of the Lord, either on the earth or in the higher planetary systems, is called a deva, or demigod. Ordinary human beings generally have good and bad qualities, and according to this mixture, they enjoy and suffer on the earth. But those who are distinguished by their absence of good qualities and are always inimical to pious life and the devotional service of the Lord are called asuras, or demons. So in this section, the nine Yogendras are instructing Maharaj Nimi. And in this series of verses, they're describing different varieties of devotee, the beginning devotee, the intermediate devotee, and now in several verses, the most advanced devotee, the Mahabhagavat, the pure devotee of the Lord. So this is a pretty grim vision of material life, isn't it? Body subject to decay, life air, harassed by hunger, intelligence, hankering, what can't be attained. But the pure devotee of the Lord, simply by remembering Krishna, he remains aloof from all the sufferings in this world, which are inevitable. It kind of come with the territory of this body. We'll read in here. It's describing the three classes of conditioned souls in this world: the demigods or devas, the ordinary human beings, and the demons. So we continue with the purport of these three classes. The ordinary human beings and demons are terribly afflicted by birth, death, and hunger, whereas the godly persons, the demigods, are aloof from such bodily distress. The demigods remain aloof from such distress because they are enjoying the results of their pious activities by the laws of karma, and they are unaware of the gross suffering of the material world. As the Lord says in Bhagavad-gita, Trividyamam somapa puta papa Jagyar ishtvas vargatim pratyante te punya asadya surenja lokam asnanti divyan divideva bhogan. Translation: those who study the Vedas and drink the soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. They take birth on the planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. But the next verse of Bhagavad-gita says that when one uses up the results of these pious activities, one has to forfeit his status as a demigod, along with the pleasure of the heavenly kingdom, and return to earth as a nara, or ordinary human being. Shane punya martya lokam vashanti. In fact, the laws of nature are so subtle that one may not even return to earth as a human, but may take birth as an insect or tree, depending on the particular configuration of his karma. So Krishna says interesting things about demigod worship. He says, if you're worshiping other gods, you're foolish and unintelligent, and actually that worship is misdirected. It was actually meant for me alone. The fruits you get, they're limited and temporary. Even if you go to the heavenly planets for untold thousands of years, you still return back to this earth. And then Krishna says, if you want to do this, I'm in everyone's heart as the super soul, and I'll make your faith steady so you can devote yourself to a particular deity. So he says, don't do this. It's not good for you. But if you insist on wanting to do this, I'll help you. So this speaks to the independence of the living entity. Krishna doesn't interfere with that. So be careful what you wish for, because if it's not good for you, you still may get it. So, we're here within this body. It is temporarily. We have this idea of I and mine, that I am, well, first of all, I'm a human being. I'm American or Indian or European. I'm black, white, Asian. I'm man, woman. I'm old, young. All these ideas of I and mine. Well, mine is everything related to this body. I am this body, and everything in relation to this body is mine. My family, my health, my bank balance, my wealth, house, car, possessions, position in society, everything. These are mine. Well, yeah, they're yours kind of in a sense, temporarily, but were they yours 100 years ago? Are they going to be yours 100 years from now? It's like if you live in an apartment, okay, you're paying rent to the landlord, you can say, well, this is my home. Yeah, it's your home temporarily. You live there, but when the lease is up, you may have to leave. So this body is like an apartment. We're here temporarily, but when the lease is up, we have to go. Now, the difference between this body and this rented apartment, you may sign a lease that, okay, I have this apartment for 1 year. This body, there's no lease. Material nature can come at any moment. Okay, lease is up, get out. And you have no choice. So, this material nature is very powerful and is described here that one is struggling with these senses, with this intelligence, but the pure devotee, simply by remembering the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, is able to be aloof from all these conditions. So, in that analogy, the manager of the apartment, this is the material nature. The actual landlord is Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Krishna says, I am Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. I am the controller and owner of all spiritual material worlds. So Krishna says this Aham, I am. Now, I am, Aham, actually, really, in the truest sense, only refers to Krishna. Only Krishna can say I am without reservation. We can say I am this, I am that, but everything I am is in relation to Krishna. I am what I am in this world is temporary. What I am eternally is I am Krishna's. I am Krishna's energy. So Krishna's I am is absolute. Actually, the word I am is part of ahankara. Ahankara, false ego, this false sense of I am, that I am all these temporary designations of the body. Krishna's I am is absolute. He both in the nutshell verses of the Bhagavad-gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna starts with I am. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. And in the Bhagavatam, aham evasameva agre, that all that exists, both past, present, and future, is me only. And so, what? I am Krishna? This world is Krishna? Yeah, well, okay, the key understanding to understand the personality of Godhead, the metaphysics is the absolute personality of Godhead possessing energies. So these energies they're not different from Krishna, but they're not the same as Krishna. This is Lord Chaitanya's wonderful metaphysical understanding of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. So, are you Krishna? Well, in a sense, I'm part of Krishna, yes. Are you Krishna like Krishna is Krishna? No, I'm not that Krishna. I'm not the controller of all spiritual material worlds. Everything is not emanating from me. I'm just a tiny part. And as a tiny part, my business is to serve in relation to the whole, to the absolute personality of Godhead. So, Krishna's I am the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything is mine. Krishna is Bhoktaram Jagyatapasam, one who understands everything, understands in truth, understands that everything belongs to me. Our proper I and mine is, I am Krishna's, and Krishna is mine. I was hearing one lecture by Prabhupada, and one lady was challenging. Apparently, Prabhupada said something like, referring to Krishna as my God or my Lord. He says, and she gave a little pushback on that. Well, yeah, he's your God, but other people have their gods. And Prabhupada, no, Krishna is everyone's God. So we can say Krishna is my God. He's also your God, and people may understand our God differently in different traditions, but there's only one supreme absolute personality of Godhead. We have the complete understanding of Krishna as Krishna, the all-attractive person who's dancing in the groves of Vrindavan with the gopis and enjoying his pastimes with the residents of Vrindavan. At the same time, this whole world is going on. Krishna, well, in a sense, he's not personally involved, but of course, everything is under his control. So how does this material world go on? Well, first, Krishna expands himself, and then he expands himself again, expands himself again, and we get down to Krishna's expansions. That one of Krishna's expansions, he breathes. It doesn't seem like a lot of effort, but he breathes, and from this breath, untold universes come from the body of Mahavishnu. And then what does he do after that? Then he glances. He glances at this material nature and pregs it with the living entities and brings it to life. So while Krishna is enjoying with his pure devotees in the spiritual world, by his expansion, he breathes and glances, and here we all are in this material world. Now, Krishna doesn't just create this world and abandon us here. He actually wants us to take up his service. He doesn't want us to suffer like is described in this verse, the suffering of the living entity. He actually wants us to go back to Godhead, and he provides all facility. He comes himself, yada hidharmasya. Whenever there's a decline in religious principles, I appear. I reestablish the principles of religion. He sends his representatives, his devotees like Srila Prabhupada to attract us. Now, see, we just read the demigods. They're enjoying so much. They don't even realize the suffering of this world till their term is up. And Hare Krishna, their term is up, and they have to again come back to this earth. But we may think this is a curse to be here in this middle planetary system where, we can't really achieve full happiness, but at least we're not suffering full distress. So this serves as a reminder that, this material world is not our home. This is not our place. We need to take advantage of what Krishna's given us, and it's not hard. We're all dancing joyously every morning. Is that hard? They joke in America that, the only way you can get a white man to dance is get him drunk first. So Prabhupada turned that saying on its head. He convinced us to give up all our intoxication, but he gave us the intoxicating nectar of the chanting of the holy name as taught by Lord Chaitanya. And in a very short time, he expanded that and taught the whole world to dance. Brought Krishna consciousness back to its homeland, back to India. And here we all are, chanting and dancing Hare Krishna before their beautiful lordships, Gaur Nitai, SriSriRadhaRasbihari Lalita Vishaka Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman. I mean, who could ask more than that? You know, dance joyously every morning with all your friends and then take delicious prasadam. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. Sounds better than this. Within the material world, one's material body is always subject to birth and decay. Similarly, life, air, prana is harassed by hunger and thirst. The mind is always anxious. The intelligent hankers for that which cannot be obtained. And all the senses are ultimately exhausted by constant struggle in the material nature. So what's better, that or chanting and dancing for the deities and taking prasadam? All right, so let's continue this purport. This is a long purport. We can read some more. Let's see. The pure devotee of the Lord, however, does not experience material misery because he has given up the bodily concept of life and identifies himself correctly as an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. As stated by the Lord himself in Bhagavad-gita 9.2, Susukam kartam avyayam. Even in the stage of regulative practice, the process of bhakti yoga is very joyful, as we were just discussing. Similarly, Lochandas Thakur, a near contemporary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, said, Saba avatara sara shiromani kevala ananda kanda. Although there are various khandas or divisions of Vedic disciplines, such as karma kanda, fruit of ceremonies, and jnana kanda, regulated speculation, Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan movement is Kevala Ananda Kanda, the pathway of pure bliss. Simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna, eating the remnants of sumptuous food offered to the Supreme Lord, and hearing the enchanting pastimes of the Personality of Godhead, one merges into the ocean of bliss called Krishna consciousness. So, spoiler alert, I actually read ahead. That's why I was speaking on this just a minute ago. So fortunately, this blissful ocean is the eternal situation of every living entity, provided he gives up all his bogus concepts of life. One should not identify himself as a gross material body, nor as a fickle mind, nor as a speculative intelligence, nor should one foolishly identify himself with the so-called void of Buddhist imagination. Nor should one even identify himself with the ocean of impersonal spiritual life called the Brahma Jyoti, which illuminates the great outdoors of the spiritual sky beyond the covered universe. Prabhupada was very frequently would speak out against the impersonal interpretation of Vedanta and the Mayavadis. And in the very first days when Prabhupada was giving his Bhagavad-gita classes at 26 2nd Avenue, some of the boys were wondering, well, who are these Mayavadis that Swamiji's always talking about? They figured, it must be some group that, he had some run-in with India and he still holds a grudge. So one day, Prabhupada's Bhagavad-gita was not yet published, so he'd read from an impersonalist Bhagavad. He'd just read the verses and then he'd give his own purport. He wouldn't read the impersonalist commentary. So one day, just for fun, he had them read the commentary where this person said, well, it's actually not to Krishna who we must surrender, but to the unborn within Krishna. And Prabhupada did not like that at all. Came down very heavy that no, it's not there's no unborn within Krishna. It's Krishna to whom you surrender. Now, one of the boys there, who fancied himself as something of an intellectual, started defending the impersonalist position. This is all described in Hayagriva's book, The Hare Krishna Explosion. So this boy started, he was quoting from this one and that from Lao Tzu and St. Paul and the Upanishads and the Buddhist Sutra, quoting everywhere which way, and probably just let him go on and on. He said, are you finished? No, he had some more, and he was talked a little more about this impersonal idea that there's something higher than the personality of Godhead, that there's the impersonal Brahman, this is the Mayavadi idea that there's just one absolute truth, Brahman. Everything else is Maya. even when Krishna appears on this earth. Well, that's the Brahman taking on a little covering of Maya. And so Prabhupada soundly defeated all these impersonal ideas. Why do you want, telling the boy, why do you want to take this away from Krishna? You're engaging in Krishna's service. You know the glories of Krishna. Why do you want to take that away and say he's just something impersonal? And Hayagriva's commentary on all that was, then we realized we were the Mayavadis. So, by the simple admission, continue with the purport. By the simple admission of one's constitutional position, and by a sincere engagement in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, one is quickly promoted to direct participation in the eternal pastimes of Krishna. Just as Arjuna got the opportunity to play with Krishna as a soldier on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Sri Madhvacharya, he's going to quote Madhvacharya again. Let me say something about Madhvacharya. I just heard about Madhvacharya. It was kind of unique among acharyas that he disclosed his identity. He said that he is Vayu, and he comes and he accompanies Krishna and helps him in his pastimes. With Lord Ramachandra, he appeared as Hanuman. Jai, we have a Hanuman devotee here. Hanuman helped Ramachandra in defeating Ravana and his army. Then in Krishna Lila, he appeared as Bhima, the son of Vayu, who assisted Krishna on the battle of Kurukshetra, defeating the enemy of the Kauravas. And he said, now I've come as Madhvacharya, and I'm assisting Vyasadeva to defeat the Mayavadis. So, let's read what Srila Madhvacharya has to say. Sri Madhvacharya has given an elaborate description of the process by which material miseries arise. When the conditioned soul of demoniac mentality identifies himself with the gross material body, he undergoes miseries of constant drowsiness, an unquenchable sexual desire that burn all mental peace and serenity to ashes. When a demoniac person identifies himself with prana, the life air, he suffers from hunger, and by identifying himself with the mind, he suffers panic, fear, and hankering that ends in disappointment. When he identifies himself with intelligence, he suffers profound existential bitterness and frustration deep within his heart. When he identifies himself with the false ego, he feels inferiority, thinking, I am so low. And when he identifies himself with the process of consciousness, he is haunted by memories of the past. When a demon tries to impose himself as the ruler of all living beings, all these miseries expand simultaneously. So, the acharyas, they're describing the process of our entanglement, of our suffering in this world, so we can understand our condition better. But really, their purpose is to explain the process out of this suffering, to take to the process of spiritual life. Now, the Vedas are very vast, and there's many processes of elevation that are described. Krishna says that most of the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature, because, that's where most of people are coming from. And by this gradual process that one can perform sacrifice and gradually elevate himself and regulate his life. The unregulated life is poison for our existence. So first become regulated, then become gradually elevated through pious activity, through cultivation of knowledge, through yoga practice, and ultimately through devotional service. Now, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we're kind of bypassing this long process, and Lord Chaitanya has given what no incarnation has given before. The holy name and the process for our elevation to pure devotional service. In this age of Kali, the Bhagavatam says, Kalir dosha nidhi rajan astyeko mahadguna kirtane eva krishnasya mukta sangha param rajet. In this age of Kali, those who are intelligent will worship the Lord of golden complexion by this process of Harinam Sankirtan, and in this way achieve all perfection and go back to Godhead. So, back to our process of entanglement in this world and how to get out of it. So according to Sripad Madhvacharya, sinful life is the demoniac standard for happiness. We can observe that in demonic societies, the dark, late hours of night are considered most appropriate for recreational activity. When a demon hears that someone is rising at 4 o'clock in the morning to take advantage of the godly earth morning hours, he is astonished and bewildered. Therefore, it is said in Bhagavad-gita, Ya nisha sarvabhutanang tasyam jagarti sangyami yasyam jagarti bhutani na sa nisha pasyati mune. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Srila Prabhupada has commented, there are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities or sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Thus, the more one can increase illicit sex, intoxication, meeting, and in gambling, the more one advances his prestige in a demoniac society. Whereas the godly society based on Krishna consciousness, these things are abolished completely. Similarly, as one becomes blissfully attached to the holy name and pastimes of Krishna, one becomes more and more alienated from the demoniac society. I remember when I was first met the devotees, I was going to lectures, and this was on a college campus, and the devotee was giving the lecture. Sometimes he'd talk about giving up sense gratification, illicit sex life, and I got a little paranoid. How did he know I was thinking about sex life? Well, actually, this is the driving force of the material world, and this is what leads to all our attachment and entanglement. One increases life's illusion through all his material attachments. Janasya mohoyam aham mameti. Thus, one thinks in terms of I and mine. I am this body, and everything in relation to this body is mine. But no, I am Krishna's, and Krishna is mine. That's our true identity. People are so confused about what they are now that they're making up crazy identities. That a man thinks, well, if I imagine myself to be a woman. Did they do this in India? This is a thing in America, that if a man imagines himself to be a woman, he's a woman, and we have to treat him or her as such. Conversely, if a woman identifies, it's one thing to think I'm not this body. It's another thing to think I'm a body that I'm not. That's just a whole nother level of illusion. So let's see. Well, I don't know if we'll finish the purport. We're going to run out. Maybe we should take time for questions or discussion or comments. Anyone like to add anything, or else we can continue reading. All right. The demons are self-proclaimed enemies of the Supreme Lord, and they mock his kingdom. Thus they are described by Sri Madhvacharya as Adogata, those who have purchased their tickets to the darkest regions of hell. On the other hand, if one is undisturbed by the miseries of material life, he is on the same spiritual level as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in Bhagavad-gita. Yang hina vyatyantye te purushang purusharshaba samaduka sukhang dhirang yomrit tatvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, The person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. One can come to this transcendental stage only by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the words of Sri Madhvacharya, Sampurnanu Grahad Vishnu. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has described the process by which one becomes an Uttama Adhikari. If one is fortunate, he gradually becomes disgusted with the limited vision and activities of the Kanishta Adhikari and learns to appreciate the expanded vision of the Madhyama Adhikari, who is able to recognize that every living entity should become a devotee of Krishna, and that one achieves the perfection of life by following in the footsteps of an Uttama Adhikari devotee of the Lord. As one's devotional service gradually intensifies, and one repeatedly bathes in dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, the harassment of birth, death, hunger, thirst, fear, and so on gradually cease disturbing the mind. As stated in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 124, Alabte va vinashte va bhaktya chadhana sadhane aviklava matir bhutva harim eva diyasmaret. Even if a devotee is frustrated in his attempt to eat properly or clothe himself properly, he should not allow this material failure to disturb his mind. Rather, he should use his intelligence to remember his master, Lord Krishna, and thus remain undisturbed. As one becomes mature in this process of remembering Krishna in all circumstances, he is awarded the title Maha-Bhagavata. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta gives the example that just as a child's ball may be fastened to the end of a rope so that it cannot bounce away, a devotee who surrenders to Krishna becomes tied to the rope of Vedic injunctions and is never lost in worldly affairs. In this connection, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has quoted from the Rig Veda 1:156.3 as follows: Omasya janato namo chid vivaktan mahaste Vishnu samatim pajamahe om tat sat. O Vishnu, your name is completely transcendental. It is thus self-manifest. Indeed, even without properly understanding the glories of chanting your holy name, if we vibrate your name with at least a small understanding of its glories, that is, if we simply repeat the syllables of your holy name, gradually we shall understand it. The supreme entity indicated by the word pranava om is sat, or self-revealing. Therefore, even if one is disturbed by fear or envy, the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will become manifest to one who continues to chant the Lord's holy name. Further evidence is given in Srimad Bhagavatam 6:14. Sanketyam parihasyang va stobhang helenam eva va vaikunta nama grahanam asheshaga haram vidu. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all learned scholars of the scriptures. So, in conclusion, you're not this body. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chant Hare Krishna as taught by Lord Chaitanya. So actually, a godbrother of mine many years ago told me that every good class should at least cover those points. So in case I missed anything, you're not this body. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and chant Hare Krishna as taught by Lord Chaitanya. So any questions, comments? Wait, we're passing you a microphone.
My question was, how can one surrender to Krishna? Because actually the materialistic pull is very strong. So how can one just manage both of the things, his material life and his spiritual life?
I'm sorry, could someone clarify the question for me? I'm having a little trouble with the accent. How to surrender to Krishna? Good question. That's our whole purpose here, is to learn how to surrender to Krishna. Yeah, Krishna says, just surrender to me. Well, yeah, how do I do that? Well, one surrenders to Krishna through the agency of the representative of Krishna. The spiritual master comes in the unbroken line of disciplic succession and teaches us step by step how we can surrender. We take up the process of devotional. We can't expect to fully surrender immediately, but we can take up the process of surrender. Surrender is a process. It's not something we might just do once and it's over with. Okay, I've surrendered. It's a process we follow step by step. So, ada, shraddha, just a little faith. And you have that little faith just to be here, to some preliminary faith. Well, maybe there's something here. Tao, shraddha, sadhu sangha, associate with devotees. We come and we associate with devotees. Bhajana kriya, we take up the practice of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita, bowing before the deity, chanting the holy name. This is all the process of surrender. Everything we're doing is to bring about that surrender. Some Buddhists have the idea of like instant enlightenment, that you perform great austerities, just sitting in dry meditation, and suddenly you become suddenly enlightened. Well, our enlightenment is a gradual process. It's practical. We can take up step by step, chant the holy name, hear about Krishna's pastimes, appreciate the beauty of Krishna in his deity form, and render some service. If one has an occupation, he can give a portion of the fruits of his work to propagate in Krishna consciousness. If he has some talent, he can use that talent for serving Krishna. Ultimately, Krishna calls on us to give our whole life, but our whole life is a long time, a lot to take up it in one step. So we gradually take up the process of Krishna consciousness under the direction of the spiritual master and the association of devotees, and Krishna assures us that we'll come to the point to a full surrender and go back home, back to Godhead. All right?
I had one more question.
Yes, sir.
How can one manage his professional life and his spiritual life together?
That's a good question too. I know when I was working a corporate job, I didn't balance very well. It's difficult if you have to rise every morning early and go to the office or whatever. So one should, if one can come to the temple every day, one can do that. If not, one can make his home a temple, install deities in his home, and every morning and evening with his family worship Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, and read the scripture. And again, it's difficult, but whatever we have, whatever we do, we try to apply that to Krishna consciousness. All right. Is there a question in the back? I see a microphone. No. Okay. Yes, sir. Can we pass the microphone up here so everyone here can hear the question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for this wonderful class. As you said, Krishna is making arrangement for us to whatever we are looking for, enjoyment. If we want to do demigod worship, he makes some arrangement. Mm-hmm. But same time you said he criticizes as well. Ki the people who are worshipping demigod, they are mudha, they are like not fully knowledgeable. So why Krishna is allowing us to enjoy as well, and same time he's wanting us to come back to his...
In Western philosophy, they have this idea of the problem of evil. So their idea is that, well, how can God be both all-powerful and all good at the same time? If he's all good, he'd want to end all suffering. But if he's all powerful, he would do that. So why is there suffering in the world? Well, we can understand that because Krishna gives us our independence, and he doesn't interfere with that independence. He wants our love. You can't force someone to love you. It has to come voluntarily, and Krishna's looking for our voluntary surrender. Now, if you want to keep rotting in this material world, Krishna advises against it very strongly, and he sends all obstacles in your path, but he's not going to stop you. If you want to worship demigods and go to the higher planets, you can do that. Krishna, as I said before, Krishna will help you. He'll give you, but he says that's not the best thing you can do. Your results going to be limited in temper. You can enjoy in the higher planet, or you can accumulate wealth in this world, enjoy great prosperity, but eventually I'll give it up. We have to surrender to God in one way or another. So Krishna wants us to surrender to him voluntarily out of love. There's another way to surrender, and that's at the time of death. You can say, well, I don't want to surrender to God. But when God comes in the form of death, you can't say, I bow down to no God. No, death comes, you have to bow down. There's no choice. Death is here, now you surrender. So don't wait to surrender to the cruel hands of death. Surrender to Krishna now in this life. Then death is not something fearful. Death is a transition to a higher sphere and eternal enjoyment for the pure devotee. Okay.
Prabhuji, one more question was there. As you said, we are living in this temporary home, but home we having some lease, like how long we'll live there. But in this body, we don't know. Material nature can anytime kick us, as we said, death can come anytime. So how should be always conscious about that? We may die anytime, so we practice bhakti very seriously.
I think you just answered your own question. How do we practice Krishna consciousness at every moment, because our next moment might be our moment of death. I mean, we can assume that I'll live to a ripe old age and die at home in bed surrounded by loved ones, but I mean, you can walk out on the street and get run over by a truck, have a heart attack, get killed by a mugger. I mean, so many things can happen. You can walk down the street and some can fall off a building and hit you. I mean, there's danger at every step in this material world. There's no guarantee. So while we have sufficient energy and sufficient health and sufficient knowledge, take advantage and try to serve Krishna to the best of your capacity at every moment, because we never know. It's like there's an arrow headed our way, a death, and we don't know when it's coming. We may think, well, I'm young, I got time. You may not. You don't know. So take advantage of everything that Guru and Krishna have given us. We can live a happy life in Krishna consciousness. And we're not asking for self-deprivation. We're asking just be happy. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That's our motto. Is that Belmeen class is over? What's that? Oh, okay. Another question. Yes, sir.
So in the purport it was said that even if you chant neglectfully or in a joking mood, you are freed of all sinful reactions that you might have committed in your life. But then Krishna also says in the Bhagavad-gita at the end that Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tam Sarva Pape Mokshayishami Machucha, that if you fully surrender to me, then I will relieve you of all sinful reactions. So So how do we reconcile the two statements here?
I kind of missed the first part of the part of the
The first
question
part
in the
is
bell.
that here in the purport it was said that, you know, if you jokingly chant the holy name or if you neglectfully chant the holy name, you will be freed of all the sinful reactions,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
Krishna says that if you surrender fully to me, at the end of the Bhagavad-gita he says that, only then you will be relieved of all sinful reactions. So how do we reconcile the two statements?
It's a cleansing process, just like I described devotional service as a process. So the cleansing of the heart is a process. We can start, as you say, chanting jokingly or, you know, not just goofing around. Like sometimes we're out on Harinam and the drunk people start dancing and chanting, oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So they're getting benefit from that. It's not the same benefit as if one is giving his life to devotional service, but even as a joke, that he's beginning that process of purification, of surrender. So gradually the heart becomes surrendered and we become more and more attracted spontaneously. Right now we follow a regulated process as given by Prabhupada and given by our spiritual master. In the advanced stage, rules or regulations, I'm going to be Krishna conscious at every moment. There's no question of, well, now I have to chant my 16 rounds so I can remember Krishna. He's remembering Krishna all the time. But now we need to take up the regulated practice very seriously to cleanse our hearts so that we can come to that stage of spontaneous devotional service. Hare Krishna. All right. I think we can end here. It's 9 o'clock. Thank you very much for your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.